Welcome to the Gabrielle Lara Show podcast. This podcast is a safe space for new and aspiring service-based entrepreneurs. Gabrielle is a niche coach, and her unscripted podcast walks you through the highs and lows of entrepreneurship and how to navigate the in-between. You can expect a mix of business strategies and personal development tips to help you get to the next level with a little bit of spirituality sprinkled in as well. Get cozy and please stay a while. You are more than welcome here. Hello guys. All right, in today's episode, I want to share how I went from making $0 in my coaching business to now helping women all over the world find their niche and turn their story into a coaching business. Now, I'm recording this on YouTube too, so if you want to watch me do this episode, then I'm going to leave the YouTube link in the show notes below. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then hello. Thank you for coming to my channel, and please subscribe so that you do not miss any videos. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for today's episode, I thought of sharing this story with you because when I polled you guys on Instagram, you all said that you want to hear more stories about my journey. Now, I could just dive in and tell you how I did it right away, but I want to share my whole story with you guys to give you the evolution of how this happened. Because, and I want to do that primarily because a lot of you guys are new and aspiring entrepreneurs. You may be struggling in your business right now, and you may be looking at what everyone else is doing to try to figure out your how, right? How you can make it happen. So I'm hopeful that sharing my journey and sharing the road bumps that I went through and how this was not a linear journey. It was not and is not an easy journey at all by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I don't want to glorify this for you because I think a lot of entrepreneurship is glorified. So when new people step into the space and they struggle, they stand there and they think that something's wrong with them, when in reality, it's the glorification is what's wrong with this whole thing. So I have always said, I want to be real with you guys, and I will always be real with you guys, and I will show you the highs and the lows and the messy middle in between. So my focus for this is that you guys feel really grounded and supported in your messy middle right now and know that you are exactly where you are meant to be. So I'm going to start this way back. When I was a little girl and I was growing up, I knew, and I always say I knew since I was in diapers because I legitimately felt like I knew since I was in diapers. I knew for as long as I could remember that I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to empower women. I wanted to run a team, and I did not want to work for anyone. I did not want somebody kind of jerking me around and telling me what to do. And more importantly, like, I didn't want somebody to tell me, you're worth $50,000 a year, and put a price tag on what they thought my value was when I was working most of my week for them. I really struggled with that. So I knew since I was in diapers that I meant to run my own business. And the problem was, back when I was growing up, so I was born in 1993, and as I was kind of going through the traditional school system in the early 2000s, the late 90s, the early 2000s, there weren't a lot of people running their own businesses, and there sure as heck were not a lot of women running their own business. There was, however, somebody in my life, my mother, who, both of my parents actually, who did run their own businesses. So I was really fortunate to be able to see this firsthand and really see a woman and a mother of 4 kids step into her power and run a really impactful business. So I was super fortunate to be able to see that and witness that as a little girl growing up. Now, everything else around me and everyone else around me um, always just kind of laughed when I shared that, right? Like, it's so common for us to ask people, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And expect these little 10-year-old kids to know exactly what they want to be. And when one does confidently say what they want to do, it's like you just kind of push them down if you have a limiting belief against it. And I absorbed a lot of that, a lot of it. A lot of my friends already knew what they wanted to do with their lives. And none of it was owning their own business. So I have 3 sisters. all of them knew what they wanted to do. One wanted to be a nurse, one knew she wanted to be a scuba diver, all this cool stuff. And as I kept absorbing people's limiting beliefs about starting my own business, I started to believe that like I was wrong and I shouldn't want to run my own business because I was being told by everyone that success comes from climbing the corporate ladder. And even my parents were like, running your own business is so hard, just like join corporate America. And it was really, really tough to have my dreams squished or not feel supported at such a young age. So I was going through the school system and I got terrible grades. I was a horrible student because the way I was learning was not aligned with who I actually am. And we're going to be talking a lot about that as I progress in this story. But, I was being taught by somebody saying, okay, here's the math problem, right? I'm going to write it on the whiteboard. I'm going to show you how to do it once, and then you're going to get a test on it. I don't work like that. I do not retain information like that. And if you do, kudos. I am not a textbook type of person by any stretch of the imagination. So I got terrible grades. I literally graduated high school with a 2.3 GPA out of 4. I got into college by the skin of my teeth, quite literally. I could only get into a 2-year program because I didn't make it into any 4 years. And it was a huge knock on my confidence. I mean, I had teachers like sit me down and tell me it would be a waste of time for me to go to college. I would just waste my money and to just go find something else to do. And, at the time, everyone's going to college. Like, that's what successful people do is they get into college and they go, and that's really what society pushed. I don't even know, like, if Instagram was around then. Maybe Instagram, like, just came out, but the whole social media wave, like, it just was not there yet. So college was huge. And I already felt so crappy about myself because here I am with bad grades. I'm being told that I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting my money. I could barely get into a program, and my confidence was just so knocked. And I remember graduating high school, and everyone was like, well, what do you want to study in college? I was like, I don't care. I want to run my own business. I do not care what I study in college. I don't even want to go to college. I would not have gone to college if I knew what I wanted, what my skills were and what I could turn into a business. But I couldn't because I didn't even really know who I was. My confidence was so knocked by the bad grades, teachers telling me I'm wasting my time, absorbing other people's limiting beliefs, that I just started to let my dream go. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not meant to run my own business at all. Maybe I am meant to just climb the corporate ladder. That's where I'll get my 6-figure paycheck and then I'm successful, right? Because everyone says you hit 6 figures and you're rich, you're successful. That's what we were really told back then. And so I went to college and I was in the 2-year program, and I was finally taught in a way that worked for me. It was a super small class. I had a great relationship with the teachers, and they focused on how I learn best, not how we can lecture 150 people to do a math problem and quiz them on it and that's their grade, right? So I really excelled during those 2 years, and I graduated top of my class, and I was really starting to figure out like, okay, that worked for me. That's what worked, and that felt really good. So then I applied to a 4-year college because I still didn't know what I wanted my business to be or what I could do for a business. And I got into that, eventually graduated that. So I was in college for 5 years, and I was at the point where, okay, now what do you want to do with your life? Now it's time to go get a job. You're about to graduate college. And it truly hit me. And I'll never forget the amount of frustration I had with myself, where I was like, you idiot, like you still can't figure out what to do for a business and you're just gonna let your dream go. Like, I was so hard on myself. And I just got out of this relationship where I was dating somebody for 3 years, 3.5 years. They were living a double life. People knew, no one told me, and I didn't find out for almost a year into it. And my confidence was just shot again. I was just knocked back to the ground. And I was like, you have to be kidding me. That took so much out of me because I was finally gearing up where I was like, oh, like I feel like I finally am like stepping into my sauce a little bit. Knocked back down, thrown on my back, heart absolutely crushed and broken. And so I ended up moving to a city, to Boston. I didn't know a single soul. And I ended up living with 7 girls. And most people are like, worst decision, why would you ever do that? I was petrified, but there was something in my gut that was like, just do it. Just do it. Just go. Like, what do you have to lose at this point? You're living at your parents' house. You just went through your world was just flipped upside down. What the hell do you have to lose? And so I did it. And I remember I was telling my next door neighbor, she's like a second mother to us. I was contemplating the decision, and she was like, I don't care what you decide, but you're going. You're going. Like, you're going to do this. And so I moved in, best time of my life. Making that move was the best decision I ever made. And some of those women are still my closest friends. And we sat down one night and we made me a Tinder as a complete joke for a wine night because I was the only one who didn't have it. And that's how I met my husband. He was my third match and the only person I went on a date with, and we've been together ever since. And so it was really so crazy, like how many times the universe will just kind of push you down, and the more you stand up, the more that you come back stronger. And so, during that time frame, it was okay, it's time to get a job. So I just kind of threw my dreams aside of starting my business, and I said, I'll just join the 9 to 5 life like everyone says. And I got a job as a receptionist at a magazine in Boston, which sounds really cool, right? And it was fun. It was like they did a lot of local events where like a lot of local celebrities win, and it was hip and it was cool. And I like just turned 21, 22. So I was like really enjoying it. But I'll never forget the first day. I'm 22 years old. It was the end of April. Oh my gosh, like 2015, like very long ago. And I sat my butt in that chair at that desk my first day. I'm making $30,000 a year. I'm getting paid pennies. I'm living in one of the most expensive cities. And I looked at the clock. I was there about 15 minutes. And I just said, there's no way in hell I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Come hell or high water, I will not do this for the rest of my life. There's no way. And it was just so interesting because the environment was toxic. And especially when you are the lowest person on the totem pole, the lowest one, it shows people's characters like you would not believe. People who would walk right by you and just pretend like you didn't exist. And there was that was another aha for me where I was like, I do not care what position I ever hold in my life. I will never, ever, 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 ever walk by somebody like that, not say hello and not have manners and not treat anybody with respect. It was really mind blowing. So I ended up segueing from receptionist into sales. And that's where my sales career started because I was making no money and I was like, I can't not make any money. Like, I'm paying rent. I can't do this. I have student loans. I have to survive. I'm living in Boston and I like to go out and have fun. So I segued into sales and I became an account executive selling ad space. And I learned a ton. I did that for about a year and a half. Freaking hated it, but it paid the bills. And then I started to realize, like, I feel like I'm selling something that's just not really making an impact and it's not helping these small business owners. And if I'm not 110% behind something, I'm not comfortable selling it. So as I was having those realizations, Eric, my boyfriend at the time, and now my fiance, was moving to New York for his job. And we were kind of doing long distance, like Boston to New York, not super long distance, but we weren't seeing each other half as much as we used to. And this was June at the time. And I was like, all right, December, I have to go till December to really collect my commission. But I still it was like a moral issue. I was like, I just feel like these people aren't really seeing results. So I kind of coasted my way through. I didn't really sell anything just so I could collect my commission because I had a lot of commission to collect and I needed the publications to run to collect that. So as the end of the year came, I went to New York and I started interviewing. And then I ended up getting a job as a sales rep for doing tech sales in Manhattan. So I moved to New York, moved in with Eric, and started selling software in New York. And the catch here is I had to commute 5 hours a day because Eric works at hospitals. He's a neurophysiologist, so he is on call when there's surgeries, and if there's like a trauma case, anything, he's got to get in the car and go. So he couldn't be he had to be within an hour to every single hospital that he worked at. And he didn't work in Manhattan. And that was really the only area of work for me. So that was very tough for us. But we lived in the cute town. We lived in Beacon, New York, if anyone's familiar, in the Hudson Valley. Absolutely adorable town. We loved it. But I was miserable. Miserable. absolutely miserable. My whole life was just going by. I was at first doing 5 days a week, 5 hours a day. I'd wake up at 6, I'd get home at 8. And then I cut down to 4 days a week, which is still just insane. And then that gave me 48 hours in the weekend to be a human, right? To be present in my relationship. We just got a puppy, to enjoy seeing my dog grow up, who's like my pride and joy. If you guys follow me on Instagram, my 2 dogs, but this was the first one that we got at the time. And take care of myself. I wasn't doing any of that. I developed horrendous anxiety. My skin was horrible. I gained weight. I just like, my face was so puffy. Like, I was so stressed and unhappy. I was unhappy. That's what it was. I was happy with my life outside of work, but I was so utterly miserable with my job. Really liked most of the people that I worked with. At that, I learned a ton. I learned a ton of sales skills there from my manager, Josh, at the time, who I'm still friendly with. But like, it was just a very miserable period. My relationship was on the fritz, and I just, with Eric, with my family, with everything, with myself especially, like I just totally lost myself. So I did that about a year and a half, and that's when I was really kicking it into gear. And I sat on that train for that period of time, and I listened to every freaking podcast under the sun. All the Gold Digger podcasts, Sunny Leonard Doozy, Melissa Griffin, Marie Forleo, I listened to freaking everyone, Amy Porterfield. And I absorbed everything that they had to say. And I was just like, I need to get out of here. I cannot do that. I will not do this the rest of my life. And there was this really particular moment that stands out to me as I tell this story, where I was standing on the train tracks one day. And I'd never met this woman before. I've never talked to her, but it was early. There weren't many people there yet. And she looked at me and she goes, I have 13 years left of this, and then I'm free. And I didn't know what to say back to her, but it was that moment. And she had children, and her children were growing up, and she was just never there. She was saying, like, when her kid called in sick, she had to like make this elaborate plan to get the kid home from school because she couldn't get there. And I was really holding space for her. And in my head, I just said, like, I needed the universe to tell me that. I refuse to be that person. I hate that for her so much. So much. I refuse to do that to myself and to my future kids. I have the chills as I say that. So that's when I realized, like, I need time and I need space. I need time back in my day. I need to get out of this freaking job. So as all of this was evolving, Eric had a work situation come up where they offered for us to move to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we are East Coast people. We did not know a single person who's ever been out to Albuquerque. I've never even really freaking heard of Albuquerque before. And I immediately was like, no, oh my God, no. And then you Google it and it says like Albuquerque is like this wicked dangerous place. And so I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. Like, what? But here's the interesting thing. That was my fear talking, because Eric and I always said, before we settle down, we want to see more of the US. We want to travel. Such a blessing in disguise. And first, like I said, my fear was talking and I was like, hell no. And then I was like, oh my God, we got to go. This is it. We need to go to New Mexico. I don't know a damn thing about New Mexico, but now's our chance. And Eric and I work in a really interesting way. Like, when he's freaking out, I'm very much like, we got this. And when I'm freaking out, he's very much like, no, we got this. And so like, we just took turns doing that until we made the decision. And I was absolutely crapping my pants asking my manager if they would let me go remote and work out there and continue to be on the team. Because I was like, I don't know what my business is going to be. Like, I can't just not have a job going out there. Like, it just did not feel right to fully leave, even though that's the exact thing I wanted to do. My gut was just like, hold on a little bit longer. So they ended up saying yes. Thank God. It took me weeks to get an answer, but they ended up saying yes. And I was like, Eric, we're going. Like, now I can work remotely. I felt like this was my ticket. I can have space. I can work from home. I can work on my business. Like, I can finally figure it all out. So we packed up our stuff and we moved to New Mexico. It was the best year of our entire lives. New Mexico is our favorite place in the earth. If you are from there, I love you because everyone from there is just absolutely amazing. If you don't know anything about New Mexico, please get out there. It is the best place in the world. The weather is amazing. We lived in this beautiful small town north of Albuquerque called Corrales, and it will just, I said to Eric, we will be buying a house out there one day and like living a back and forth life because like that was our time. Like we loved it so much and we still do. We got engaged out there actually. We went back out in August and Eric proposed. It was just so beautiful. So anyways, as we got out there, we got settled in and I'm working remotely and I was like, hell no. Like this, I'm just still so unaligned with this that I can't even focus on my business now because of like the mental strain of this job. The environment started getting pretty toxic and I was just like, this isn't it. This is the mental load is killing me. And everyone says, just start your business while you're in your 9 to 5. And I am not saying leave your 9 to 5 at all because I think that's bad advice. Every single person has different circumstances where they may need to stay in a 9 to 5. For me, I just knew in myself, this is not my advice for you, this is just what I knew in myself. I had to go. I had to be in a position where it was sink or swim. I work so well with a fire under my ass, and I did not have a fire under my ass when I was getting that cushy Manhattan salary. I can tell you that. I did not work. And the mental strain of just that job, I couldn't focus on anything else. So it's around January time at this point, 2020, and I said, or 2019. My goodness, when the heck was it? I think it was 2020. 2020. So I said to myself in January, I'm going to leave in June. I don't care if I don't even have a website up. I'm going to sit with my savings and I'm going to leave June 1st. If nothing else happens by then. Shouldn't have said that. Because come April, COVID hits in March. Come April, they let me go. I got laid off, which was a huge blessing in disguise. I remember I cried like crazy that morning because just felt like I gotten rejected. I felt really insecure that maybe they were talking bad about, like all of these things. Like I just totally spiraled with it. And then I remember I started laughing and I was like, this is the exact thing that I asked for. I need this more. Like now it's go time, baby. Like the universe is like, let's freaking go. Let's go. So I was like, let's do it. And then 2 days later, Eric lost his job. That was a big one for us because we thought Eric was very secure in his job. And it was the day before, no, you're fine. And then that's it. And I just remember the look on his face of like pure fear because I'm like willing to take those risks. I'm the one who's like, yep, like we're all good. Eric's very much like, I need security. And that's totally fine. There's no right or wrong in any of that. That's just how he functions. And just the look on his face, I will never forget. And I looked at him and I said, I will make sure we are never in this situation again. So then the next week, I started my coaching business. And I didn't make a single dollar for 6 months. 6 months, I didn't make a single dollar. So here I am telling Eric, telling our whole family, don't worry guys, I'm starting my business. Like we're going to be A-okay. Egg on my face. Embarrassed myself. Nothing to show for it. Not a single freaking inquiry, nothing, not a dollar for over 6 months. And I just remember being so hard on myself and how down on myself I got. I was like, the teachers were right. You're so stupid. You are stupid. You are dumb. And I spoke so negatively to myself. And I just beat myself up so hard. And that's super pivotal because your business will only scale as far as your mindset allows. And people always say owning your own business is such hard work, and it is. But I say, like, I'll do the long days all day. The hard work, in my opinion, is the healing. It's getting to know yourself. It's showing up when no one else is there. It's going hard, like posting a video that like you just want to transform somebody's life so bad and it's a wash. No one watches it. It completely flunks. It gets at nothing. And doing that constantly, time over time over time until it freaking clicks. That is the hard work, in my opinion. So I didn't make money for 6 months. And I remember we were at the point where our lease was up in New Mexico and we only said we were going to be out there a year. Looking back, I think we kind of kicked ourselves for coming back, but that's what felt right at the time. And we decided to move back to the East Coast. So at this point, we were ready to settle down and buy a house. And so we knew we had to wait a little while because Eric was like getting back into his job and stuff. And obviously, I wasn't making money for 6 months, but we really wanted to buy a house. So we did not want to buy a house from across the country where we couldn't see it yet. Should we have done that? Yes. But I really believe everything's always working for us. So we decided to move in with Eric's mom, who is so kind enough to let me, Eric, our 2 dogs, and our cat move into her house and take over her old living room and her porch area while we try to find a house. We thought we'd be there like 3 weeks max, maybe 4. We were there for 13 months because of the housing crisis, because of COVID. And those 13 months were so hard. I did not realize how much of a toll it would take on me to not have my own space, to not have the privacy that we would have, any of that. And my dogs started fighting. So my 2 dogs who are best friends, they got so stressed, they started beefing, and I just felt like my family had just completely fallen apart. Eric and I were both in like depressions of just like, what is our life? Like, what is going on? And it was just such a transformational time. Like there's still so much processing that I do around it, but it was just this complete time for like a huge awakening. And I did not expect that at all. And I did not expect to have to do it like without having my own space. And it was really, really, really difficult. But as we were moving back, I just said like, at that point I was like, I'm going to literally shell out the rest of my freaking money on this. Like I am going to invest in a coach and it's sink or swim. Like this is it. Either this is going to work or it's not. And I started working with a coach who I love dearly. I still work with her. She's still my coach. I think she will always be my coach in my business because she's really stood by me in my journey this entire time. She's just absolutely wonderful. And we got my business up and running. And here is the thing that shifted it. A niche. I had no clue what my freaking business was during those 6 months. I was inspiring all day. I was inspiring all the time. I was motivating. I wasn't doing anything tangible. I was speaking to everyone. I just wanted to help women start businesses, right? So I was speaking to the aspiring entrepreneur, which is everyone in the world. I was not specific at all. And while me and my coach didn't really figure out the niche together, she really empowered me to step into who I was. And that is how I uncovered my niche. And it's that moment right there, guys, that's the exact reason why I do what I do. Because that is what I do every single day with women now. I help them find their footing in the business world, in the coaching world. It is so hard to do. So that was a big piece of it, was getting very specific into who I was talking to. But I would say the larger piece of it, guys, aside from having a niche, was deep healing and getting to know who I was. Deep, deep, deep healing. I had to rewire my brain from calling myself stupid all the time and dumb and replaying what teachers would tell me in my head to, you are a bad bitch. You are a badass. And no one has this more than you. That took me so long to do. I would walk by mirrors, I wouldn't even want to look at myself. I ate like shit because I just didn't care. It took me stepping into my power. And when you guys hear me say stepping into your power, that's it. It's stepping into who the heck you are. Not what everyone wants you to be, not what everyone else is doing, it's you. So you guys hear me say the word alignment all the time and operating in alignment in your business and in your life. That is why. I spent my whole 26 years at that point, I'm 28 now, almost 29, 26 years at that point, listening to everyone else and running away from who I was. It wasn't until I stepped into who Gabrielle was, not what everyone thinks Gabrielle is and tells Gabrielle who she is, it's who Gabrielle actually is, that it came together for me. So in my line of business, in my coaching business, guys, that is what I do with you. I help you remember who the heck you are so that you show up. I help you find your secret sauce in the coaching world and start a business with it. Like, we literally turn your story into a coaching business based off of the experiences that you went through in your life. I approach it differently than most people, right? Most people tell you, oh, just take your skills and your passions and what the market will pay for. I didn't know what the hell my skills were. That's the advice I got the entire time until I could figure it out on my own. What are your skills? I don't freaking know. I've been told this whole time I don't have any skills, right? I was just let go from a job. I've been grossly cheated on. All of I failed school. You're going to ask me what my skills are? I have no freaking clue. I don't know. And there's a lot of my clients have experienced that same frustration, and I smile because I'm like, I get it. It sucks. So I look back, and especially as the year is ending, and I look back on all this and I'm like, over a year ago, when was September 2020 was the point where I was still making $0 in my business. And just the last few weeks, I have helped people, I signed a client in Australia, in the UK, in South Carolina, in Wisconsin, I already said Australia, Canada. It's crazy. And everyone asks, what is the secret? My secret? Stop looking at everyone else and start looking at you. What do you bring to the table? Because if you go and focus on everybody else and you steal their language, I have people who are literally copy and pasting my I help statements who now find niches through people's stories who didn't 2 months ago. And as much as I'm just I want to help that person so badly find their thing, it's always the more you keep looking at other people, taking what they do, doing what they do, and doing what you feel like you should be doing, you run further away from yourself. That's not the answer. And everyone's journey looks different, but I firmly believe that when you operate in alignment, and that means that you operate in who you genuinely are, how you listen, how you respond, how you teach, how you learn, how you absorb information, that's when it hits for you. And if right now you are in your business and you are just struggling and it's just not working for you, I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, do you know who you are? And 2, are you doing what you feel you should be doing or what you genuinely want to be doing? 2 super powerful questions there, because if you do not know who you are, your journey may look similar to how mine was when I didn't know who I was. It's tough. You probably heard the phrase you are your biggest cheerleader, and you are damn right. You are your biggest cheerleader, because here's the thing, no one gives a shit until you make something of yourself. And that is so hard. It is so hard. When you're pumping out content, you have that vision, you're grinding, and your family calls you, no one asks you about your business. Friends are calling you with their problems, they don't ask how you're doing, right? But you keep going and going and going, and that is where the relationship with yourself comes in, and that's where the deep healing comes in. With each new phase of your business, there's going to be healing that needs to be done. And I say that so confidently because it's what I have experienced, it's what my clients have experienced, it's what my coach has experienced. People don't talk about it though. So as you're navigating that, right, you think something's wrong with you. It's not. There's nothing wrong with you. It's society. It's people glorifying all of this. You're exactly where you are meant to be. Turn inward and put those blinders on. Delete Instagram, right? Just go on Instagram on your desktop. That's what I do sometimes, guys. Right now, I don't have client calls from December 20th until January 3rd. I took Instagram off my phone. I check my DMs for 3 seconds in the morning in case a client or somebody I've been talking to is reaching out to me, but keep your blinders on. When we sit there and we scroll, we are absorbing everything from everyone, and we're running further from who we are. Because we're looking for that dopamine rush, right? That's what we're doing, is we're looking for a rush of dopamine. Instead of continuously looking out there for that dopamine rush, look here. Rely on yourself to give you that. And that is hard work. But that is how I went from making $0 to now helping women all over the world find their niche, right? That's just part 1 of my signature trio. Then it's building out a product suite, not just a program, a product suite that's aligned with your lifestyle, that's really profitable. And then it's finding the aligned sales and marketing strategies. So it's not, hey, this is how you have to sell. It's let's sit down and work with how you best sell. How do you build relationships? How do you converse? And then I'll throw a sales strategy on top of that, without a doubt. And that's it, right? So you guys hear me talking about niches all the time, but there is so much more left to it. But I really harp on the niche part because that is a huge part. If you do not have a specific focus in your business, no one's going to know what you're talking about. Your content's not going to land. It's not going to stick at all. So get really specific. Find that niche and know there's going to be healing. There's going to be healing. Because you're owning your story. That's so hard for a lot of people. I did not want to tell you guys that I did not make money for 6 months. I was petrified. I thought I would discredit myself. I thought nobody would listen to me. All of that. I was terrified. But that story is what helped me build my community so much. So that's a whole other conversation that we can get into at another time. But that's it. That is how I went from $0 to now helping women all over the world. If you guys have any questions about my story, my journey, want to share your journey with me, want to share your story, comment them below on this YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or DM me on Instagram at Gabrielle with 2 E's, Lara. I'm going to put that in the show notes. And then also down in the notes for YouTube. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will gladly share more stories with you because my journey's been a little cuckoo, but I hope that this really helps you feel grounded in your messy middle and know like you're exactly where you're meant to be. The universe is just knocking on your door because they're trying to teach you a lesson and you're running from that lesson. So get grounded in that, and I am sending you a huge hug. I hope whoever is celebrating has the best holidays, and I'll see you guys next week.
If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with your fellow aspiring entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for listening, my friends, and I'll talk to you soon.